Well, good afternoon, everybody. welcome to this very, very cold edition of Sandy Bottom Homestead. What's the temperatures like where you guys are? I see there's a couple people in here. Thank you for joining us. I have my tea here, which is probably way too hot to drink. Yeah, way too hot. All right. Let me see if I got the chat set up right. I don't think I do. There we go. Okay, so if you're here, you were wanting to know about amending garden beds, and it's that time of year. So I haven't started yet. It got very, very cold here last night again. It was supposed to be 31 and it ended up being 19. So we're kind of waiting to see how everything goes. And the reason why I bring it up is because if we have, for some reason, a lot of loss, then we will start this process sooner than later. It's very important to do that. Amending the beds is what sets you up. I always have the feeling, in my opinion, is that the beds, the winter is the most important time for the garden because this is when we revitalize it, we get it going, we get it cleaned up, we get everything organized, all that stuff. I'm not going to talk about the organization stuff, that's on you. But all that stuff will go. So we are doing that. And also, before we get started, two things I'll let you know about. One is our gardening group will meet next Wednesday. So we will not have, we're going to do 3 lives each month. And then the second Wednesday of the month, we're going to do our gardening group. So we'll do that. You got to be a member. So you can feel free. You can pick the lowest tier. Doesn't really matter. I put multiples in there because YouTube said to do it. So I did. If you get the highest tier, then you'll get a seed starting chart. So, whatever you want to do, totally up to you. And also, we have a goal for super chats. Never done it. But if we get 5 super chats this talk, then I will pick somebody out of the live to send a seed starting chart to customize for your area. So it just kind of helps the channel keep going. So this makes it worth my time. But I like helping you guys out. So that's the important part. Hey, Brian, how's it going? Sparrow, good afternoon. Nicholas had weather in the 20s for 4 nights in a row. Well, good. I'm glad that you got that going on because that's what we're waiting for, is just for all of this to pass. So we got until Friday, and then it's going to warm back up. So Friday night's going to be supposedly, I don't know. Dude, hashtag the weatherman sucks. Start using it on your social media for your gardening content because the dude's garbage, especially mine. But he has missed every single day, not gotten anything right. Like, screw you. But we're waiting because once Friday comes, then we'll be back in the low 70s, 60s during the day, and we can really get some recovery time. But in the meantime, if we come to find out that we've got some losses, then you know what? We'll just start amending our beds. So that being said, amending our beds. Trying to think of where you want to start. I mean, you basically, it depends on what you're using. So the object of amending a gardening bed is to revitalize the soil, add nutrients back, and really build it up. Because when we fertilize it, if you're using organic fertilizer, you're slow building your soil. But if you're using synthetic fertilizer, then you're just giving the plants fast shocks, fast hits of food, and then it kind of goes away. So no matter what you use, you can still use this time appropriately. And this is when we start adding stuff that will break down throughout the year. So if you're into your garden bed, this is a perfect, because you add the manure in. Let's say it's a little bit on the fresh side. It can be hot, as in nitrogen hot, meaning very high nitrogen. And so we put it in this time of year. And by the time we plant in a couple months, then that nitrogen, that manure will have started to break down and cool. So we can do that too. So that's what I'm doing, is I have a pile of chicken poo out. I made a pile out in the woods, It's just kind of cooling right now, kind of just aging a little bit, and then we will add it into our gardens. And truth be told, if I lost a bed or two right now, it wouldn't break my heart, just because I could start this process earlier. Because we plant so early, we kind of are in a really tight spot as far as like what we can and can't do. So we will start that first thing. As soon as we find out that a bed hasn't made it or something, or there's just not enough plants in there to make it worth our while, then we'll pull them all out, and we're gonna add the manure to it, and we'll just, it's kind of gross, but you sprinkle it in. You don't have to put like gobs and gobs in. So that's if you have that as an option. But let's say you don't have that as an option. Like right now, leaves are falling from the trees. A lot of people are raking them. Perfect time, because again, you just layer your beds, and it's going to do multiple things. It'll start to, it'll protect the garden bed, and then if you chop them up first, then they'll start that decomposition process. And believe it or not, leaves are actually some of the best stuff you can use in your garden, because it'll break down and add those nutrients back. Straw's got a little bit in it, so it's not as good. And then you've got wood, which does kind of the opposite the first year. When you use wood chips, it causes a nitrogen deficiency. And then as it breaks down, it'll release that nitrogen back. But it takes about a year for those wood chips to break down. So that's why I avoid them at all costs. I've used them, I didn't like them. Another thing that we do coming into this time of year is we add organic fertilizer to it as well. So we'll put a healthy dose of organic fertilizer in. Remember, when you add organic fertilizers, it takes about 8 weeks for it to start to break down. So if you do the math, 8 weeks from now, we will have our broccoli in the ground. So we try to get it in 4 weeks before we plant. We try to go ahead and put organic fertilizers into the garden as well. And that'll help them start that process. And as we get these warming days, it'll start the decomposition process and really speed up a little bit. So we'll put a healthy dose of that in. And a healthy dose, we use 4x8 beds. I'd say roughly about a cup or two in there, which is a lot, but thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much. We will start that, and then what we'll do is we'll turn it into the bed. So, and when I say turn it, it's not like a heavy till, it's a light till, but you get it going in, and then that will help work it into the soil and all that, and then you can let it rest, because that's what we really, really want to do when we do the amending process. Is we want to go ahead and do everything we're going to do, and then we want to amend it. And so you do the mulch, you do the fertilizers, you can do, I use alfalfa pellets. So you can go, like I go to Tractor Supply, it's horse feed, and it's nothing more than alfalfa. And you can add that in too. So you get those pellets and you drop those in, and as they break down, they will release a small amount of nitrogen over time. It's very slow, but again, if you're putting leaves in, so the composting process, you need browns and greens, right? Browns are your carbons, greens are your nitrogens. Well, the leaves are your browns, and if you're just adding those in, you don't really have any nitrogen, so it's slower. So if you put those pellets on, then as they break down, you'll get the pellets, you'll get the nitrogen from the pellets, the carbon from the leaves, bada bing, bada boom. You start making compost inside of your garden. So we do that. And then the biggest thing we do, oh, hey, peanuts and peppers. I don't know if I said it, but thank you, Stephen. It's very generous of you. We add soil. So I alternate my years. So 1 year I'll put in straight topsoil. That's it. And then the next year I'll add 50% topsoil, 50% compost. And I have a place where I can purchase in bulk. So I get a truckload of it. My truck, I have a small truck, and it's $20, and it'll fill up 2 beds, but it'll top off probably 5 or 6 beds. So $40. This year I'll have to do more because I'm filling 4 more beds. So probably $60 worth of soil. and we'll put that in. So this year we're going to do all 50-50 mix because that's what I start with. And then if I have to go back and get more for some reason, then I would only get topsoil, but then we do that as well. So we're topping off, we're fertilizing, we're mulching, and we're turning. And then all that stuff starts to make that brew, right? And then another component is water. So you've got to keep it watered to some extent. You don't have to you don't have to water it as if you were growing, but you definitely don't want to dry it out because water will help that process, help that decomposition process really speed up. And if it's getting too wet, so let's say you're in an area, you're getting a lot of snow, you're getting a lot of rain, covering them with a light plastic at certain times can help. Um, I've done that before. Just take like a simple tarp and just drape it over if you're going to get like a really heavy rains, and that'll help stop that all that nitrogen from just washing out. But this is if you're getting like constant rains, inches and inches. Some places do. You get a bad nor'easter or something, or back to back nor'easters, or whatever you call it, wherever you live, then you can put all those in at the same time and really help to keep all that going. So, you don't want to saturate it, but you definitely want to add some water to it. Now, if you get snow, just leave it. Put it on top of the snow. Shove a little bit of the snow off of it, cover it, add your stuff in, and as it melts, all that stuff will just get worked in. And the idea of it is when you put this stuff on the garden beds and it rains, it'll just start working it in naturally, right? So we added a load of donkey manure to our garden beds, and that helped. Just as well, it hasn't rained in 2 months, but if it would rain, then all that stuff would get worked into the soil and it would start to break down. So yeah. Sparrow, you can add straw. Absolutely. You can add straw. But like I said, there's a hierarchy of nutrient dense coverings that you can do. And leaves are the highest. Well, it goes hay, leaves, straw, wood. And wood would be higher, but it has to take a year to break down. Hay, everybody hates hay because it's got seeds in it. So that's up to you if you want to do that. But yeah, you can absolutely add straw. I add straw, I add leaves, all that stuff. And you'll see if we have a garden bed that fails, which we're expecting to have one fail, it always happens, or we empty one out. You will see this process begin through the videos. So we'll pull the irrigation out completely. The order I do it in, which is not something that everybody can do, is I'll pull the irrigation out. I'll put my chickens on it for 2 days. Because it's a 4x8 bed, we'll put 8 chickens on there. They'll tear it up and they'll eat in it and, crap in it and all that stuff. Then we'll pull them out. We may even give them 3 or 4 days. I mean, I'm not picky, whatever. We'll pull that out and then we'll add the manure and then we'll add the fertilizer. We'll add the alfalfa pellets. Then we'll add the mulches and all that stuff. And then basically we're done at that point. Jay, are you saying it was negative 19 or it was at 19? Either way, it's good that you didn't have any damage. Mine are looking really pitiful. And if you're just now showing up, I'm doing a thing. If I get 5 super chats within this, then I will give to one of the people that donated. They will get an option to get a seed starting chart from me. I'll send it to you, email it to you, or whatever. I'll make you one. So at any point, I'm going to take a sip of my tea here. At any point, if you guys have questions, fire away. I have no problems with you interrupting me. So I've been asked before, how long does it take for this to, well, I've been asked 2 things. How long does it take for this to work? And how do you know if it works? And so here's the deal. You got to operate off of faith. You won't know it works unless you don't do it. Like if you did 2 garden beds and you did one and didn't do the other, you probably would notice a difference. If you do all your beds, you're probably not going to notice a difference. But what I believe wholeheartedly is we got to put back into the soil what we take out of it. I absolutely believe that. And I believe that anything we put in will. So one year I came up with the idea. One year I put wood chips in, took them all out, and then I hated it. It was worst garden I ever had. And then the next year I said I'm going to do lasagna gardening. So I'm going to just layer and layer and layer. And so I chopped up my leaves and I put it in. And then I got a load of soil. I put the soil on top, nice layer of soil. And then I put a layer of straw, and then I put a layer of soil. And so as I went in to plant in the spring, I was worried because what happened was as I dug in to put in my plants, I was worried that I didn't have enough soil because there was leaves. Like as I dug in, I mean, I removed soil from the top, absolutely, but I could see all the layers. And I said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I just went ahead and I planted. I said, I'm going to go with the process. And I did take a handful of compost and put it in at the same time, just to ensure that there was some kind of soil like material in the ground for it to build. And when I put that in, um, what I got, I came back every month and I checked and I would dig around. And what I noticed throughout the summer is that stuff was breaking down. And so by the end of the summer, I would dig down and I would find like a leaf, like that was it. So all of that ended up going and working its way into the ground, getting, building up the soil I had the best tomatoes I ever had that year. So that's kind of basically what I do. I do till, like I said, but very lightly. I do believe that's a good process to kind of keep that soil broken up and from compacting. But as I did that, I could tell the difference. So we do that this from henceforth from that year on. We've done it every year as much as we can. We rake our leaves. I know everybody's like, leave the leaves for the pollinators, leave the leaves. Well, we leave the leaves for a little bit, we rake them up, and then whatever else falls, we leave. So that's how we run that, and it works really well. And what I do is I just rake them all up in a pile. I run over them with a lawnmower, chop them up. If you got a bagger, it's even better because then they get caught in the bag and I just dump them right in. And there you go. Stephen, where are you located at? Hey, Danlo, welcome. You're late. How dare you be late? You're the only one I hold accountable so far. If you're in California, I'm wondering. I would imagine you could absolutely do cilantro now. Thyme, I wouldn't do yet. Parsley, I would wait, but I would. You could do cilantro. I direct sow it here in coastal North Carolina, um, anytime, and we did it, and we had bushes of cilantro. Like I couldn't eat it. I couldn't give it away. It was a nightmare. But we've definitely done that in January. So I don't see why not. The only issue is we have the winter solstice coming. So that's just the less, the daylight is really low. This is the least amount of daylight we get. And then after that, it starts to pick up. So I would wait till after the winter solstice, after Christmas. I typically, in my garden, other than this stupid freezing crap that's going on, I will basically the 2 weeks before Christmas, I won't do much until probably a week after because everything's so busy, and then I can just get right into it. So, yeah, you could absolutely do the cilantro. I don't think it'd be an issue. But after making seed starting charts for people in California, I know that your climate is an absolute nightmare across that state. It's terrible. I did a chart for two people, and they were 10 miles apart. And not that zones matter, but they were in two different zones separated by three numbers. It was insane. Absolutely, it'll survive 40-degree nights. Absolutely. You could if you're getting in 40-degree nights, you could do all your brassicas and all that stuff. No problem. They'll be slow to germinate, but you can get them. So amending is like super important. And the biggest thing is don't forget to put the fertilizer in, the organic fertilizer, even if you use synthetic. It's a great time because all we're doing is building soil. That's all we're doing. And compost teas are another good thing. I did that a couple years ago. I made a compost teas. Would make a 5 gallon bucket worth, and then I would inject it into my garden through my injector. And that seemed to help too. But again, I'm not doing soil biology where I'm breaking it down and looking into it and seeing what kind of microbiome is in there. I don't get into that crap. The other thing I do, especially I know Sparrow was asking about straw. Go get yourself some straw now, set it on the ground, and let it rot for a little bit. And then when you go to use it, flip that bale over and look under it, and you'll see white all up into the straw. That's mycelium. And that's really important for plants. It's basically a communication network that trees use to send information and nutrients around the roots and stuff to each other. Well, when you set it on the ground, you develop that mycelium. You can put that back into your garden. You don't have to do anything. So what I do is I take my straw and I set it in different areas of my property, so I get different bits of mycelium, and then I'll add that in. So I always go for the rotted stuff first. The chickens get the fresh stuff, and then the gardens get the rotted stuff, and then the flower beds and stuff get the mediocre stuff. So that's how we use that. That's really a really good thing to use, and you'll see it. It'll be all matted in there, and it'll look like almost like it's a fungus, but it'll look weird. And you just put that right in your garden, and you buy soils with mycelium in it. I hadn't seen any mycelium like this, and I mean the whole bale of hay will have it covered on the bottom, and it'll work its way up into it. And you also will take that bale, if you let it sit, and you know how it's got the bale wrapping on it. If you cut that and you stick your hand, you can feel it breaking down and composting already, the heat generated. So once you put that out, you're adding basically active compost to your garden, which will supercharge it. So you can do that. Hey, Connie. Yeah, Sparrow, I haven't planted my garlic yet. I'll do that next week, but I'm going to put straw on it as well. And what that does is that helps regulate the temperature. So it doesn't let it get too cold, doesn't let it get too hot, all that good stuff. Yeah, Stephen, just know your climate and work that climate. You got a pretty good climate out there. For the people that I've made charts for, I was quite jealous. They come and they're 12 months laid out, and as you look at them, you can see the flow in the months. In California, some parts of California are really difficult because the whole year is just like a block of planting with just very small variations. Jason, it's all good, man. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really eat a lot of veggies from the store, fortunately, but I know that there has been a lot of recalls. Um, they can stop eating fresh veggies. That's their problem if they're too lazy. Let's see. Let me catch up on comments. Any questions about amending? It's really an easy subject. And the thing that I like about it is you can get really creative about what you do. So you could add blood meal in, you can add your bone meal, you can go crazy with all the nutrients and stuff like that. Um, okay, Jay, that's good to know. His night. I thought you said -19. I'm like, that's really cold. Yeah, we got 19 last night too. It was rough. I still haven't turned my heat on either, which is making it kind of tough, but that's a different story. But you can really go crazy with it. I highly recommend you don't go crazy with the nutrients. I just think you should keep it simple. Think about what breaks down, think about what you're putting in, and understanding what we put into our garden makes it makes a difference. And that is what will keep your garden growing. All that other stuff that you buy, that's just fodder, man. In my opinion, like bat guano and I don't know what else. It's like people swear by it and they use it like it's the best I ever had. And I believe it. It could be, but it's just when it comes down to it, it's just too much. Yeah, I mean, Stephen, 2 weeks ago it was 85 degrees here, and it was 19. So it's been a little bit insane. But that's the winter here. That's why I call it the heartbreak zone. We'll be really good, and then we'll be really bad, and then we'll get back to really good, and then this is how. So this is how my winter is going to go, and we'll see on the lives if that's right. It's cold through these 2 weeks. It'll be warm for about a month. Then it's going to get really cold, and then it'll get warm. It'll get really cold for about a week, and then it'll be warmer, like basically like what we all consider warm is irrelevant. I would say it'll be in the 70s, 60s, and 50s during the day, and then 40s and mid 30s at night for about a month, and then it'll dip down again, and then it just kind of climbs from there. That's basically how my seasons go. And once you understand that, you unlock the power of planting in your garden. Once you understand your climate and even your microclimate in your area, you're good to go. Well, I'm glad you didn't kill your lemon tree, Danlo. That would suck. All right. Any other questions about this? If not, you got me for 30 minutes. Ask away, chat, whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter to me. Um, I am going to do the shameless plug for the gardening group that we're starting. So that first meeting should be next Wednesday. I'm super excited about it. I hope we get some more people in there so we can the plan is to actually like test stuff that we're going to do. Um, things we see on YouTube, things we see here, and we can run multiple tests throughout 1 year, but we have to kind of, you're not going to get any solid proof of anything over a year. And we'll see what we come up with, but I'm excited about it. There's a couple that I have ideas for. It's obviously the group has to vote on it. And the idea is we shouldn't have to pay too much to do these tests. It's just techniques. There is one that we would have to pay a little bit for, but shouldn't be anything crazy. But I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to actually getting a group of people together to say, like, hey, this is better, definitive. Not this did good for me and it did good for that guy, but not, just back and forth. Like, we'll see. So we got everybody's in here. What kind of temperatures have you guys been having? Anything below normal? I'm hooked on this peach tea I got, man. I got to grow some more chamomile. I ran out. You've been in the bush, like out camping? Yeah, if the roots, I mean, you're just gonna have to warm them up and see once they thaw, and just you can wrap the pots. Take some leaves, wrap it, straw, stuff like that, insulate the pots. That's why I don't like container gardening. It's one of the many reasons why I don't like growing in containers. Jason, there's a lot of people. I don't understand it either, but it is what it is. There's a lot of people that just they want to be served. They don't want to produce. the people that are here and that watch this channel, listen to the Backyard Gardens podcast, we're all producers. We all make it. You know what I mean? We want something, we grow it. And I know not everybody here is on a huge farm and grows a crazy amount of food, but even still, if you have a couple tomato plants, it's because you genuinely love them and you want to produce your own because you've learned the value of it. So it's hard for us to understand. I mean, the general population, it's like, it's weird. I never thought of like gardening until I got deeper into it. It's basically a subculture of society. Super weird. Yeah, Stephen, it's just this herbal peach tea. I don't know. I've been hooked on it for a while. I usually grow my own chamomile, but my son has taken a liking to it and he drank it all. So I've got to up my production next year. Oh, the bushes of the chat. Hey, look, if you're out in the bush, I don't know, you've been hunting or whatever. I don't know what you've been doing. So I got to go camping this weekend. I'll be in the bush. It's gonna suck too. Well, that's good, Danlo. Jason, I heard that Colorado gets some really super weird weather, specifically the Denver area. Yeah, the good thing urban gardening is the pots you can move around, but at the same time, I think it's better to insulate them in place. Personally, I think it's, but I mean, it's totally up to you. Hey, Laura, fellow North Carolinian. Oh, Brian, you want to know about my hunt? Okay, so my son went to a sleepover the night before, so we went out. We had a deer walk up, and I looked over, and he fell asleep and started snoring, and we got busted by the deer. So I was pissed, very mad, actually, because we need to get 3 deer to supply our family with red meat for most of the year, and we only have one so far. So I got some work to do. Yeah, Laura, I've done a lot of backpacking in the mountains there, and it gets real cold. It's totally different than over here. So, Steven, I didn't mention worms. So first of all, worm castings you make will absolutely be better than dehydrated castings. I mean, hands down. The other thing about the amending process is when a lot of people want to add worms to their garden, and it's a waste of time and money. The best way to do it is to attract worms, and that's just to make good soil. A lot of people will complain about a compost pile, how the worms leave it because it's too hot. They haven't left, they're just down at the bottom where it's cool. So as you turn it and you cool it, they will work their way up. So, absolutely, the worm castings you make, well, just don't add them to your beds. Just keep making castings and do it that way. But doing it, adding them to your beds is kind of a waste of time because if there's nothing there for them, guess what they're going to do? They're going to leave and go somewhere else. Good job, Sparrow. My greenhouse potatoes. I don't know if y'all follow me on Instagram. I don't care if you do or don't. Personally, I hate Instagram, but I got this picture here. Let me pull it out. Show you. Let me show you the greenhouse potatoes. So I was just doing a little bit of light scratching. Look at that potato just sitting there. So it's not been as cold either in the greenhouse. I don't know what's going on in it, but I was looking at it. So remember, I've said many times that our greenhouse stays about 5 to 8 degrees warmer than the low temperature at night. Last night, it was 19 degrees, and it got down to 40 degrees in the greenhouse, 41 degrees as a matter of fact. So 41 degrees. I don't know why that is. Um, but whatever's happening, it's staying significantly warmer. So we're gonna pull those potatoes and then replant potatoes again. I'm gonna try and keep them going as long as I can. That's why I hate Facebook more than anything. But Instagram, ever since the reels came out, I like taking pictures, and it's a waste of time. But I do it for a record for myself. Sparrow, so you keep at so the potatoes are growing in your living room, and you're still adding soil while they're in your house. Yeah, Jason, that's exactly what I heard. And it's just a yo-yo effect. Yeah. So, Sparrow, how many potatoes do you expect to get out of that pot? Have you made some kind of estimation? So, if you guys don't know this about me, I'm huge into figuring out like how much am I going to get out of what I planted. Like, I want to know what to expect so that I can make a planting schedule. Um, I was going to say educated planting schedule. Oh, Laura, that's why I put the chickens in my beds. I don't put anything in my beds for grubs. Um, a lot of time, a lot of times, as we because we do crop rotation and we dig our potatoes out, we'll actually pull the grubs out as we find them. So that's how we do it. But I think the best way is just let the wildlife get them, and just you can plant stuff to discourage them, stuff like that. Yeah, beneficial nematodes, I don't know if they work. I've used them before. They're expensive. It's weird, but you can try that too. There's a couple. I don't know any companies offhand, but you can buy them and then you just water them in. Okay, Sparrow, I'll wait. I was gonna look something up for you guys. I forgot what it was. You can buy beneficial nematodes on Amazon. That's Steven. I just Googled it, and that's the company that came up first. Man, they think highly of them, though. I tell you what. What does 5 million nematodes treat? Does anybody know that? I mean, the idea is that you keep watering them and then they will multiply. What is milky spore? Yeah, Laura, just add chickens, dude. That's they love grubs, love them. So I've got this cage. I've posted on it before, and I think it's in my Amazon page. If you look at it, it's a portable chicken coop, and it collapses. And it's basically, I think it's like 4 by 7, so it almost fits perfectly in the bed. And we'll just throw the chickens in that, and then they're cooped up for the day, and then they'll eat it and tear it up. So that's what we use. Now, when you guys say infested with grubs, how I'm just curious, how do you tell if your gardens are infested with grubs? Because I absolutely will dig and find some, but my definition of infested is like, oh God, they're everywhere. Like there's like a pile of them. So I'm kind of wondering what you guys are considering an infestation of grubs. I'm Googling something about it. So here it says you can try pouring a mustard and water slurry over the ground to irritate their skin. Laura, did you say you were in North Carolina? Was that you? Let me go back up in the chat. You can answer if you want because I probably can't find it. Yeah, that was you, Laura. For you in the mountains, when your ground's not frozen, I would start that process. Before you plant, obviously, I would probably say late February to early March, start letting them roam. We can't let ours run freely because of the foxes and stuff. Yeah, so you're pulling out Japanese beetle grubs. So again, perfect case to get chickens. Y'all gonna make me panic about some damn grubs now. Yeah, Sparrow, I'm trying to figure out. I need to be better about this year, and I can start now too. Is I want to figure out how many pounds of potatoes per plant do I produce. So the way I'm going to figure it out is like I'll weigh this one, and then I'll weigh the next grow out, and then I'll just average them out and see. Laura, were you affected by the hurricane much? That Sparrow, that's no, because I grew 32 plants last year and had probably 45 pounds. So I would have had hundreds of pounds, would have had 150, 140 pounds of potatoes. And that absolutely, I've never had that experience. So, um, we also have to understand when they give you that, they're giving you like perfect spacing and all that stuff, which, I'm not doing perfect spacing. I'm doing the spacing that I can do, but it's not perfect. So, um, yeah, it's not 5 pounds per plant, but I would imagine you'll get. I'm thinking a pound per plant is what I'm thinking, but I'm not sure. If I Google it, a healthy potato plant can produce 5 to 6 full size potatoes. And then they break it down. So they're not giving me a poundage. I want to know poundage. So the average potato plant, somebody says, gives them about 2 to 3 pounds of potatoes. If that's my garden, I would say, okay, let's say it's 3 pounds they give you, then I'm going to cut it down to a pound and a half. And that's what I expect to get per plant is a pound and a half. So out of 32 plants, pound and a half, that's about right. I got about 40 pounds, 45 pounds of potatoes. So, and a quarter of them are on my back porch right now with the biggest eyes you've ever seen in your life on them. Hey, 54. I'm glad. Yeah, you are later than Dan Lowe. Oh yeah, yeah. You got to fertilize taters. You know, Sparrow. I've planted red potatoes. I think it was red Pontiac, and then Yukons, and the Yukons have outperformed them hand over fist every single time. So now I'm just growing Yukons. I'm not a potato snob. I'll eat whatever potato there is. I'm not picky. What up, C Mac? And then I just keep the baby tomatoes and just we'll eat those. It's funny because everybody thinks they're super high class and they're just immature tomatoes or potatoes. No, Stephen. What I do for those is when I plant them, I will put bone meal in with them, and then that will help give them what they need. 54, you supposed to get a lot of snow? So I just got a notification. We didn't hit the super chat goal, but I'm going to do it in the future where we get 5 super chats and I will give somebody in the super chat a seed starting chart. I'll do it for every live, so you can look at it at the top. Yeah, Steven, for taters, what I do, and I mean, it's almost tater season for me. Well, it is technically because of the greenhouse. Bone meal, and then organic fertilizer, and then I hill them. So I'll keep hilling them. I didn't do it in the greenhouse this time. I wish I would have, but I just kind of wanted to run it. And then, so what I'll do, you can go look at one of my videos. I've done it before. Is I dig a trench pretty deep, and then I only half fill the trench. I just cover their potatoes barely. And then as they start to get leaves and they start to get a stem, then I'll finish cover, or then I'll come back and put straw over. And then as they grow more, then I'll put the dirt left over back on. And then as they grow a little bit more, then I'll put a little bit more straw. And so that gives me that layering effect. I don't do anything super crazy. Well, that's a good way. Am I saying it right? Lania? My glasses are dirty. I can't see. Yeah, I can't compost any bones because we got raccoons coming out of the woodworks. I've been getting rid of them as fast as they've been coming lately. I don't envy you, 54. I don't miss snow one bit. I thought we had a chance of snow yesterday, and if one flake would have fallen out of the sky, it would have shut everything down. So I'm glad it didn't. But I will be excited for this to kind of go away so we can get everything back moving in the right direction because it's seed starting season. I got to start my broccoli and cabbage. I just reached out to a community garden. I was going to donate some seedlings, and they're having a seed starting party on December 14th. So that's their seed starting date when they start their cold season crop. I think they're doing them in a greenhouse though. So that works, but we're gonna. They may even be. I'm not sure, but they may be planting them in a greenhouse. But we're not planting them in a greenhouse, and we'll probably be starting them around the same time. I got to get my garlic in the ground though. It's late, but it's so warm. Danlo, we only have one salt truck for 3 counties here, and when it snowed 5 years ago, they went to go load up the salt truck, and the salt rotted, which I didn't even know salt could rot. So we didn't get any treatment of any kind. No plowing, anything like that, but typically it'll warm up and then it all melts away. Yeah, I had no clue salt could rot or mold or whatever it did. All right, so the next live, what do you guys? Oh no, we were going to talk about carrots. So the next live will be about carrots. CMAC, it's a blessing and a curse. I mean, sometimes you just want it to stop, but then in other times you get excited and want it to keep going. So it's a little bit of both. So yeah, we'll do something on carrots. It won't be next week. I'm gonna skip next week because we're gonna do our garden meeting next week. So it'll be the following week, maybe, unless that's Christmas. No, we're good. So on the 18th, let me put it in my phone. We'll do carrots. No, I don't need any skunks. They'll get my bees, and I don't need that. The only spot on a skunk vulnerable to bees is their belly, so it makes it kind of a pain. The 18th, carrots live. Oh, I don't eat microgreens. Sorry. I don't grow them either. Steven, I have planted purple carrots, yellow carrots, white carrots, and orange carrots. And the orange carrots always outperform all the other ones. So I don't even grow those anymore. Yeah, potatoes are really fun, Jason. We're gonna do one all about, even though we basically did it now, but we'll do one all about potatoes too. Danlo, just plant them in the spring, man. You'll be all right. I don't even plant them in the fall anymore. It's not worth it. Hey, so Blez. All right, everybody. So if you're not a member, we will miss you next week. If you do want to be part of the gardening group, you can become a member. Any tier will get you in, even the smallest one. It helps channel out, but the goal of it is to get people that are really serious and want to do this involved. So we're going to set that up, and we'll see them next Wednesday, and we will see you guys on the 18th, and we're going to talk about carrots, and we'll start going through all the other ones. So we'll start doing potatoes and whatever else you want to do. No problem, Stephen. Thank you very much for your generosity. Thank you, everybody, for showing up, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Tomorrow's video will be an update about the freeze, and then Saturday's video is going to be about selling seedlings that you grow. So hopefully you guys can, a lot of people have asked about that. So hopefully I can help you in that process as well. So yeah, everybody have a good week, and we will see you on the 18th. Keep an eye out for a thing, a notification that we're going live. I'll definitely look into that, Laura. Y'all have a good day, and we will see y'all on the next one.